Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session, 4 Reasons to Unify the Management of Physical and Electronic Records. My name is Michelle Doyle, and I'm the Director of Product Marketing at Iron Mountain for our digital business unit. I have had the pleasure of working at Iron Mountain for the past over a decade, and I've gotten to work across several of our business units, from our physical records and information management business unit to our digital. I've traveled all across North America, lived in the UK for a couple of years while working with our UK and European customers and our operations over there. And really, in my time in this industry and information management and content services, I've seen consistently across our customers, no matter where they are, what geography, what industry they're in, many of our customers are continuing to work in a hybrid world of physical and digital information. And they're continually coming to us looking for ways to make their lives easier, right? Help me find the information I need when I need it. Help me keep the obligations that I have to protect my organization from risk and to help maintain compliance. We especially hear that from customers in our most highly regulated industries, but we really do hear it across the board. And, given the prevalence of this challenge, I'm really excited to dive into this topic today, to take a closer look on why it is so critical and important to unify the management of these hybrid worlds, of bridging the gap between physical and digital information. It's even more important in today's work landscape, right? It's ever changing. It demands all of us to be increasingly agile, increasingly efficient, and really find ways to leverage data, records, information, content, whatever you want to call it, really to its fullest extent to remain competitive. So with that, we can dive into today's content. And I want to start off with kind of an imaginary picture that is a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's not too far off from what we see day in and day out. So if you'll start off by just really imagining with me, what would it be like if your organization kept its money and other financial assets in a variety of institutions all over the world, right? But you had no centralized way to keep track of them all. Think about the hassles that would be involved. You have dozens of different accounts in different countries, and you can monitor and access them maybe online, but you don't have a centralized accounting system that helps you see that unified balance sheet. So that would mean that each time your organization wants to know your financial situation, you have to log into a separate system, log the current balance for each account, manually add it all up. Now, that's on the digital side. Imagine, in addition to that chaotic kind of system, your company invested some of its finances in physical assets. Okay, so think about art, precious metals, classic cars, collectibles. You get the idea. And these physical assets are spread out similar to your digital assets, just all over the globe. And you might have digital inventory lists for some of them, but what if none of those were in the same place? You don't have one software to manage them. And some of your physical assets, say you track it with pen and paper, very old school manual. Some you have no records at all, right? You just have to kind of wander around until you find what you need. It sounds crazy and it sounds unmanageable, right? But this is what we hear. It's not too far off. It's really the position that many organizations are in when it comes to their records and information. And as we know, right, in today's economy, it's been this way for a long time now, data and information is really one of your organization's most valuable assets. But many companies have their records, information, content, assets, they're spread out across multiple systems and repositories. They don't have that unified system to see it all and manage it. And they often have that mix of physical and digital records, multiple tracking systems. And when it comes to the physical records, especially paper files, maybe they don't even have a digital record of their existence at all. So while this is really common, and we hear this from a lot of customers, I've heard it personally myself from many, it's very risky and it can be costly, but we do know there's a better way. So we are operating in that hybrid world. All of us are. For better or worse, that's the way our lives take place. And it's partly physical, partly virtual. Many of us have hybrid jobs where we spend part of our time working at a physical office location, if those still are around in some industries, the rest of the time working from home or traveling, working wherever we choose to work. We have hybrid meetings where some of the attendees are in person and some are online. Even take it to your personal life, right? We have augmented reality video games like Pokemon Go. They combine elements of the physical world with an imaginary one. We have mixed reality headsets that can superimpose digital content on the things that we're actually viewing with our physical eyes, right? So if you take that to the business world, business records also live in this hybrid world. And many organizations have made really great strides, and we've worked with many of them in achieving aspects of digital transformation, digitizing their paper files, but most really do still have some paper around, and some may actually never be able to get rid of the paper, which is, unimaginable in this day and age, but it really is the reality. So to cope with this hybrid world, organizations need a way to unify the management of their physical and digital records. Unified records and information management solutions really give organizations a centralized way to track and manage all of their information, whether they exist on paper or silicon. They bring together documents that might otherwise have lived in multiple repositories spread across multiple locations, and they often incorporate automation capabilities. And what that does is makes it easier to apply corporate policies to this information in more of a systematic way. These unified records and information management solutions also have a number of other benefits, and you see them on the screen here. They can help enable compliance. Similarly, reduce risk, other types of risk other than legal compliance. They can help you improve efficiency and then increase agility of your organization, which is, like we talked about at the beginning, increasingly important in the competitive and really changing world that we live in. So I'd like to take us through each of these reasons really to adopt this unified records management approach and how each can really help your organization. So if we start with the first one around enabling compliance, some organizations have no choice but to adopt this unified records management approach. So primarily government agencies. I'll give you an example. In the US, the National Archives requires federal agencies meet its universal electronic records management standards. So they have no choice but to do this. But even if you don't work for a government agency, unified records and information management might also help you meet other compliance requirements. So if we take healthcare or financial services, for example, these organizations are required to retain some types of records and documents for a set period of time. It's all based on industry standards. And all organizations, regardless of, if you're in a highly regulated industry like healthcare, financial services, or in a government organization, all organizations are required to keep tax records for a certain amount of time. We also know on the opposite end of the spectrum, so we've talked about keeping records, but on the opposite end, some laws actually require that you delete certain data. So a well-known example, and you see this in the data privacy space, is the European Union's GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. It requires organizations, including even those that aren't located in the EU, to delete personal data as soon as it's no longer necessary, or whenever the person who actually owns that data requests that it be deleted. And organizations that do not comply with this face steep penalties, including fines. So to comply with these regulations and many others, most organizations, and I'll say many organizations, and we've worked with many of our customers to do this, they create data or records retention policies and data privacy policies as well, and procedures. But one thing that we hear time and time again is, in practice, it's difficult to actually apply those policies, especially if you have records spread out across many systems, and if you have that mix of physical and digital documents. So it's really difficult. The policy or the procedure may look nice, but it kind of sits on a virtual shelf and never gets actually implemented. A unified records and information management system can really help here. It helps simplify the process of complying with requirements like these. It can automate data retention and even deletion when possible. And then a good unified records and information management system can alert you when automation isn't possible. Organizations also face similar compliance challenges around e-discovery and litigation, right? So when companies are involved in lawsuits, they're required to hand over large, troves of digital data related to the case. And if they don't have that unified records management system, it can be very difficult to locate the information they need in a timely manner. And if they fail to hand over the records that are required, they can put themselves in legal jeopardy. They also, the other opposite end of the spectrum is they hand over too much and they might expose corporate secrets or put themselves at risk in other ways. So again, here, a unified records and information management system can help organizations more easily identify, locate, turn over any paper or digital documents required by a lawsuit without putting the organization at really unnecessary risk. So similarly, we talked about reducing risk and helping enable compliance more on the legal spectrum, but legal risk isn't the only type of risk that organizations face. And we hear this all the time from customers. Unifying the management of physical and digital records can reduce other types of risk like data breach and theft. So cybersecurity, also a hot topic that has been a hot topic for a long time now, but it's always topical and always top of mind for most corporate executives. In a recent KPMG survey, they found that 73% of CEOs are worried about a corporate cyber attack. And that's up from 61% who said the same thing 2 years ago. 24% said they believed their companies were unprepared for a cyber attack. Unified records and information management can really help here. It can improve cybersecurity in a couple of different ways, right? Because it helps organizations enforce their data retention policies that we just talked about by reducing the volume of data available for thieves, to steal, right? So if an organization has less personally identifiable information on hand, it can reduce that damage that might be done by a breach. I used to have a colleague who would say, they can't hack what you don't have. So really having a systematic way to put those policies, those data retention and deletion policies in place and actually implement them is huge. Also, if you think about it, securing a single tool rather than managing multiple tools is easier on a number of fronts and more efficient as well. So if you're using multiple records and information management tools, that's more tools you have to keep up to date. It's also, if you have that large number of tools, it's more likely that the team will fail to apply a critical patch, potentially leaving you vulnerable to attack. It can also help with mitigation, right? If you have that unified system, it can help with mitigation in the event that a breach does occur, because we can't pretend that they don't occur. They definitely could, and you need a way to mitigate that. But having that unified approach can help, because an organization would know exactly where all of its information is, and also be able to tell more quickly which data might have been compromised. You can also then notify individuals who might have been affected more promptly because you have a unified one place to kind of look for the information. That can reduce the impact on individuals and the impact to a company's reputation and any damage that might occur. We know very well, and sometimes people forget, that digital records are not the only records that are vulnerable to theft, right? So loss or compromise of paper documentation or documents can be equally, if not more, damaging than a cyber attack in many cases. They can also be more problematic in the case where the organization doesn't have accurate records of what was stored in a particular area. It might be the case, because a lot of these are legacy records, in the worst case scenario, management might never even know the paper files went missing, which would be a huge problem. So having that unified management system really makes it easier to assess that damage, the potential damage, if an internal or an external person gains unauthorized access to sensitive paper files. And it also makes it easier to conduct audits to determine what types of physical security are necessary to protect different files. All right, so the third reason to really adopt a unified records and information management approach, it can improve efficiency. It can help organizations become more efficient, and we've seen the benefits of this. If you think about it, most knowledge workers spend a substantial amount of time just looking for the information they need to do their jobs. And we have a number of stats to support this, right? In a Wakefield research survey, 54%, over half of office professionals, said they regularly waste time just searching for documents. There was a separate Harris poll that found that nearly half of employees claim that searching to find what they need at work is more painful than going to the dentist. So that kind of says it all right there. That poll quantified the amount of time the average worker spends looking for information at 2 hours per day. So that's equal to 1/4 of a standard work week. It's just unacceptable, right? Having a single records and information management solution really makes it easier for employees to find the data they need. Doesn't necessarily solve all problems, but having just one repository to look through is much, much easier than searching through multiple systems to find that small snippet of information you need to do your job and kind of move forward in the next step in your process. It also reduces the likelihood of rework. So human nature, what do we do when we can't find what we need quickly? We recreate it. We get creative. We find a new way. And it might take less time than combing through multiple records repositories, but it's still not an efficient use of time. Having that single source of truth, that single source of managing all of your information can really help streamline workflows. In global organizations using many different information management tools, employees in one location may be following different procedures than employees in another location when processing documents. So having that single source makes it a lot easier to provide that consistency to the organization, and it can decrease costs and risk because you have that consistent application and how you're managing information, which really helps you. If you also want to think about efficiency from another angle, having that single vendor is also easier for your organization to manage. So your organization will need to spend time negotiating with just one supplier. The IT team needs to deploy and support a single tool. Workers need to learn one process. Backup and recovery will involve just one solution. It just streamlines your operations. And they don't, these types of improvements in efficiency, they don't just benefit the bottom line. They can actually also affect employee morale. And this is kind of a hidden, benefit or reason to adopt this unified approach. We do know, and you can think about it from your own perspective too, right? Workers, knowledge workers, we get incredibly frustrated when we can't find the data that we need. And again, we have some evidence to back that up. And that Harris poll that I mentioned before, 43% of all workers, and even higher, 57% of workers aged 35 to 44 would consider leaving a job if they didn't have an efficient way to access the information that they need regularly. Also, 45% of those surveys said they get annoyed by coworkers asking for help to find records they were unable to locate on their own. So in the economy we're in right now, employment's at an all-time low, or near all-time low at least. Organizations are having a hard time finding and keeping qualified staff. So improving working conditions in any way possible, including better access and more unified access to information, more efficiency in your information management solution is maybe an unexpected way, but it could improve the likelihood that valuable employees will want to stay at your company. And really the last reason that I wanted to touch on for why you would want to think about, or why many of our customers have seen the benefits of unifying their physical and digital records management in a central repository, is really to help them increase their agility. And we think about this in several ways. Unified records and information management really makes a great complement to digitization initiatives. If organizations are already inventorying their physical records in order to add them to a digital information management system, that's really an ideal opportunity to scan legacy paper records to store them in a digital format. Also, similar to that, unified records and information management complements digital transformation initiatives, right? So if you're already down the path of streamlining workflows, many organizations find it worthwhile to adapt their workflows to become more digital at the same time. As a direct result of digitization and digital transformation initiatives, companies have the opportunity to perform advanced analytics on more of their structured and also their unstructured data. And that can help them better identify and adapt to changing market conditions and really just increase their agility overall. If they have those analytics, those same analytics can help companies uncover hidden opportunities for introducing new products, serving new groups of companies, improving, your pricing, your competitive positioning, a number of benefits. It really opens the door to new possibilities that you might not have identified otherwise. So you can see, there are clearly lots of benefits, but anytime there's a change in your organization from the old way of doing things, it's going to come with challenges as well. And the process of unifying your physical and digital records is no different. It's going to introduce some challenges. And identifying the stakeholders and locating all your records can take time. You definitely need to appoint a leader who can oversee this type of initiative and make sure you have executive sponsorship to really help provide that momentum you need to complete the project. Some of the biggest challenges will likely be cultural, right? Because when it comes to change, people are inherently resistant to change. And some of your employees might not want to adapt their workflows and new tools for records and information management. You also are probably, you don't work in a bubble or a silo. You might need to navigate competing interests from other groups, all different teams from finance to product to procurement, accounting. They all have different ways of creating, storing, managing, working with records and information throughout your organization. And they often have very, very different needs and goals that you would need to balance as you're adopting this new approach. So you really have to work together with several different groups throughout your organization that touch information, which is really everyone, to come up with that unified solution that works for everyone. But really the long-term benefits that we discussed today, reducing risk, better compliance, improving efficiency, increasing agility can really outweigh those short-term difficulties of kind of getting this new approach up and running. A unified records and information management solution can help position your organization to withstand economic pressures and thrive in any market conditions that come at you. So we believe, and we've seen through our customers, that it really is worth the effort. I've talked a lot about, the challenges we've seen from our customers and some of the benefits we've seen from our customers who have adopted this unified approach, but I'll just talk a little bit about Iron Mountain. If you don't know us, we've been in the business of helping customers bridge the gap between physical and digital records and information for decades. And we're continually working with our customers across more than 225,000 organizations around the world, over 50 countries. We work together to really come up with better, easier, more efficient ways to unify the management of physical and digital assets, whether they're paper records, information stored on older technology like microfilm, microfiche, tape, digital native content and media, you name it. We really work to protect the value of our organization's billions of assets across our many, many customers. We see critical business information, highly sensitive data, cultural and historical artifacts, and we strive to really work with our customers and provide solutions from records and information management, digital transformation, secure storage and destruction, data centers, cloud services, art storage and logistics. And we continually help customers lower their costs and risk, comply with regulations, recover from disaster, and ultimately enable a more digital way of working. Something you may not know about us, we do partner as well with leading technology partners like Amazon Web Services, for example, or AWS, to offer you unified information management solutions that have produced really beneficial outcomes for our customers, like we talked about in today's presentation. We collaborate with our technology partners to help you securely access and store your information, find what you need when you need it, automate your workflows for improved collaboration, and unlock insights with our unified, automated, and secure content management solutions. So I hope you enjoyed today's presentation. If you want to learn more, we would love to be able to show you a demo of our solutions. We also have a paper on this very topic that we spoke about today, 4 reasons to unify records and information management. Like I said, we've worked with countless customers to make this a reality, and we've seen the benefits firsthand. So definitely check out our customer success stories. Our unified records and information management solution is Iron Mountain Insight. So I encourage you to check out our page and learn more about our platform. We continually, we have experts throughout the organization. We learn from our customers and from our experts and put all of our knowledge into our resource and knowledge center. So definitely check that out. And then, like I said, we're committed to working with you to help you on your digital transformation journey in any way that we can. And so we have content on that as well that you can check out. So with that, I will leave you with those resources, and we are continually here to help you elevate the power of your work. So thanks again for your time. Bye-bye.